Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, and I got a couple guys from AbTab on with me today. I got Tim Kearney and Matt Click, which is awesome. They have a Kickstarter going on, Absolute Tabletop. As I said, all the links are in the description. You guys can find everything you need there. And I guess today we're going to be talking about an adventure kit. We kind of like started without you guys, and we were going off for a little while. And I'm like, I guess we should probably push the button and get going with this. So welcome, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And congratulations, you guys are kicking ass on your Kickstarter. And just before we got started, I was breaking their balls a little bit because I thought their goal was rather weenie-ish. I think those guys were way better than that. And, well, they proved me right. So within, like, the first, hour or something. Do you guys know how long it took you to hit the goal?
It was literally, I think it was 20 minutes.
It was 20 minutes.
Yeah, which was, it was really cool and also, just jarring, just completely jarring.
Well, you guys have built a pretty strong community, so I'm not surprised at all. You guys have got a track record. You've been putting out products. You're very accessible. You guys are easy to talk to and get a hold of, and you're just kind of all-around good dudes. So,
thanks, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And to kind of talk to, what this was is, we don't take Kickstarter lightly. We've done this on our own 17 times, but that's at our pace, using our methods. And so for me, I thought, when we were talking and setting this goal of $500, we thought we have to make sure that this is a test Kickstarter. We have to be able to go into this saying we don't know the first thing about how this is going to shake out. We've read a ton of blog articles and did our research, but that doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to go in very low, because even if we only fund it $500, we can still put out the product we want to put out. And that was our legitimate goal. And I can tell you, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, behind the scenes, we were like, man, I hope we hit 500. Like in the first week, that would be really nice.
Yeah. And we had our stretch goals kind of planned out for if we had exceeded $500. And I think we had planned for up to $3,000. And that was lofty. We were like, man, if we hit 3K, that would be really, really awesome. And we're looking at our spreadsheet and figuring out how many of each pledge level we need to sell in order to hit 3,000. And so that was kind of our internal goal was 3,000. And we were at 3,000 day 2. And it was just okay, what we had to scramble and come up with what are the rest of the stretch goals going to be, because we're 2 days in and we're past everything we could have even imagined. So
now I would think, just being a layperson, that you guys would have just been like, all right, how many customers do we have in our database? And be like, well, that's how many people are probably going to pledge at a bare minimum. And you can kind of math it out from there.
Yeah, well, and we try to, but at the same time, there have been times in the past where people have asked for a specific product and there's been a demand for that product and we've put it out and nobody's bought it. Specifically, there's been t-shirts and stuff that people have been like, dude, if you made this t-shirt, I would buy it in a heartbeat. We're like, cool. And we spend time and effort designing the t-shirt, and then we put it out and it's we've sold one in 2 years. I think Locrius has it and that's it. Locrius owns one of those shirts. So this is a little bit different because it's actually an RPG product, but it is one of those things where it's you're never really sure, how much people have, how much money people have, how much they're willing to commit to things, how interested they are in different products. So this has been very eye-opening for us, just seeing oh, hey, we can make this work. We can use Kickstarter in a way that doesn't sort of undermine our philosophy of how we go about, making products and building community and stuff like that. So I've just been really pleased with everything, and I can't wait to do it again. So it's been great.
Next goal starts at 20 grand.
Yeah, we're just gonna come right out of the gate. 20K, let's do this. 20K, we're making a t-shirt. Come get
it. Yeah, right. So the adventure kits, let's get into that. You guys had sent me a copy and I have not looked at it yet, but I think I might actually run it this weekend.
That would be awesome.
For my group. So
that would be great. I'd love to see what you think of it.
Yeah, I actually had stole some of your stuff, Tim. Well, I didn't steal it; I bought it. But I had the Villanavi. Villanavi, am I saying that right?
You're saying it right, from Dragon Grin.
Yeah. I had used that in a Spelljammer game a couple years ago.
Oh, awesome, man! Yeah, you got to let me know, because there are so many videos out there. But dude, if you ever use stuff, we'll plug it from the AbTab channel. We'll plug it from Tabletop Terrors. That's super rad to use the Villanavi.
Dude, it is like a little piece in like a 4-hour video.
Well, and if I had to give you the elevator pitch,
Yeah.
the kind of catchphrasey marketing thing that I've been saying is adventure kits are preparation at the speed of your imagination. And so a lot of times when I sit down to prep, I've been carrying this idea net, is what I call it, around all week. That cool scene from the TV show I'm going to drop in there, that neat thing I saw on the news, you know. So I've got all these things, but where I get bottlenecked is having to write it down on note cards or a Google Doc. What the adventure kit does is it lets me just write down these quick notes and then jump into the kit. And a lot of the major pieces are already finished. So I just apply my little inspirational glue and just kind of put the pieces together. And I mean, you can prep in as little as, we've had people prep in as little as 10 minutes. And we've had people pour over this thing for hours. I ran a totally improv game where I prepped absolutely zero. I just went into the game and it went really smoothly.
Yeah, so that goes right along with my prep style, which is like the 10 minutes, because I generally just go, jot some things down and be like, all right, we're ready, let's go.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm just kind of like, what do I need? I need like maybe a role-playing encounter. It's Dungeons and Dragons, so you got to throw at least a fight in there. And then my players are going to do some crazy shit anyway, so anything I would have planned isn't going to matter. So, let's just throw some funny dice and see where this goes.
Yeah, I think that, that's true of, I would say, a lot of people. I think, prep light is kind of, it's kind of in vogue right now. Like that's what you do is you want to be a reactionary dungeon master. You want to play off what the players are doing, and you want to be able to come up with stuff on the fly because it's kind of fun and it's a challenge. And we've written adventure modules, like straight up adventure modules where you follow the story and there's different pieces in there. But the thing that we all do with adventure modules, and we're all like, this is what everyone does, is you take the adventure module, you read through it once or twice, you pull out the pieces you like, and you run it a completely different way. That's what everyone does with the adventure modules. And so it was one of those things where we're all kind of looking at each other and it's like, what if we just gave people those pieces, like this cool encounter, this neat NPC, this location, and make it totally modular so they can put this NPC in this location with this encounter and make it work. And the response has been great. And I think that it is something that isn't really out there. Like it requires a lot of work in order to use adventure modules. If you're like a prep light or kind of an improv style game master, I think this fills that sweet spot right in between where you can prep as much as you want. You can pour over this thing for hours and fill each room with a bunch of stuff that enemies and all kinds of stuff. Or like Tim said, you can go into it with 0% prep and just like pull locations and encounters as you go, it's a lot of fun.
So the funny thing is, I want to say probably like a year and a half ago, we were dabbling with some of our own stuff, and Nerdarchy had actually presented something similar to this, and we're like, "This is garbage. Forget this. I'm sure your execution is much better." So I'm gonna be like, "Oh, Ted, I think this was the thing you were trying to make." But it was the same kind of concept for one of our campaign locations, the Crawlwood. So now he can use that as a map to actually produce the thing he was trying to produce before and see how you guys executed it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, and this is something like Tim can talk to this a little bit more, but we were sort of realizing, actually, Nate pointed this out. Nate from WSD20, we were chatting with him last week, and he said, I've kind of noticed that you guys have sort of been building up to the adventure kit for a couple of years now in your products, because you look at like our adventure modules or even a book like Stone Rift, where we include a lot of these kind of modular pieces and like quests, different adventure hooks and non-player characters and locations that you can just kind of plug in wherever you want. And so we kind of have been evolving towards the adventure kit for a while because it's the kind of stuff that we enjoy writing and the kind of stuff that we enjoy running.
And the thing to me about the kit is that we make what we'd use. That's kind of our mantra, the Absolute Tabletop way. And so we all felt like, man, I wish there was just something we could, like you were saying, I just want to grab it and run it. What can we do? Even our own adventure modules. If I wanted to run that for the guys in AdTab, it's It's virtually impossible without a bunch of work because they help write the thing. With the adventure kit, because it's so modular, and like the beginning of it even has a quest generator, so you can run this thing as like a heist, treasure hunt, just straightforward invasion kind of melee thing. But I could run it for these guys 2 weekends in a row and it could be totally different. Matt could run it for us and it could be totally different. So I think that's a really key piece, is that we just wanted this thing to exist, so we made what we wanted to use.
We're getting a lot of comments about the stuff in your background. Got the mask, Batgirl.
we got some pretty colorful backgrounds here.
Yeah, I know. I've got Batgirl's up here, and a bunch of there's Guardians of the Galaxy and comic book, all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
I got a little James Hetfield, Todd McFarlane toy, and
look him. You got Doom Marine Funko Pop back there.
Yeah, and then there's a Revenant over here. Map of Middle Earth.
Zeal Castle, yes, they are the guys from Harbinger.
Yes. We are the guys
from reputations Harbinger. Precede us. Yes, we're the Harbinger guys. Yep.
We are. Proud to be the Harbinger guys. Matt's the lead designer on Harbinger, a 5th edition science fantasy game. And in fact, I will say this. If you are not subscribed to the Absolute Tabletop newsletter, or if you don't frequent our blog, news.absolutetabletop.com, you are really wanting to be a part of it. This coming Friday, we're going to drop some big news about the next version of that playtest. And we want all of you to playtest this next version. We got some really cool stuff coming. So check out news.absolutetabletop.com and get on our email list so that you can get this in your inbox this coming Friday, I think.
Yeah,
Friday. I will add to that. Remember to check your promo folder, because all your emails end up there. No matter how many times I move it over, I'm like, curse you.
Damn it, Gmail.
Yeah, and then I forget about it. I forget I even have that folder. I'm like, there's nothing but junk in there mostly. But every once in a while, there's something in there that you want. And no matter how many times you move it over.
It's true.
You guys use Chimpmail, right?
MailChimp, yeah. We've been really, really happy with MailChimp.
Yeah, that's the problem with any of the email lists. They always go everywhere but where you want them to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had to tell people, like, hey, check your spam folder. Your Harbinger stuff might be in there. Like, it sucks that it's like, and there's nothing we can do to control that. It's all about what the inbox does once it gets there. But
that's not true. If you use GetResponse and pay like $800 a month, you can get your own IP,
perfect.
Your own IP address, and it'll always go right where you want it to go.
Oh, no worries.
Only $800 a month? Okay, yeah.
That'll be our $30,000 stretch goal for 1 month. We'll use that service for 1 month.
Just saying, there's options. They're out there. That, or you guys can just hand deliver written notes to everyone.
Yeah, I'll spend all week at FedEx Kinko's and just send them out.
That would be cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm married to a MailChimp. In the comments.
Oh my God.
We get the weirdest comments.
That's wonderful.
I love you guys anyway. Also, guys, you should check out I don't know if I put this in the description or not, but you guys should check out the Facebook group. You guys got a pretty lively community over there that continues to grow. Yeah, no, that's been great. We didn't really anticipate that. I mean, we are okay. So I guess we might be humble to a fault, because we keep doing these things like this isn't going to be big, and then like it does pretty well, and it's always very surprising. And part of that is that we're constantly surprised by the people in this community and the people that we interact with on the daily basis. Is really what it comes down to. It has very little to do with us, and more to do with, I don't know, this community, I guess. Like, I would say that we're like you said, Dave, we're kind of likable, accessible guys. We're easy to talk to. But this community is like, it's just a bunch of really passionate, really driven people that are always creating awesome stuff, running awesome games. And so it's really cool to see them kind of turn out and support us whenever we do something like this that we're feeling really passionate about. So that was what I think got us over that initial sort of, that hard sort of, when you start pedaling the bike of Kickstarter, like that first few $100 of getting noticed, climbing up that list so that people on Kickstarter discover you, is like our community, the Absolute Tabletop official group. They come, they pledge, all of a sudden we're breaking through our first goal and other people are taking notice. So
every day we're grateful for that group of people. It's just awesome.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I think just being positive and really encouraging people, because I mean, we have YouTube channels and we put out books, but we're just dudes and we talk to people all the time. And like you said, we're very accessible. And I think just when your group is founded on just positive, cool conversation where everyone's having a good time and there's not really a lot of negativity, it draws those kinds of people. And we get unsolicited comments probably once every week or two of just kind of a lurker who says, hey, I don't post much in here, but I want you to know that I like how positive it is. And I try to visit here a couple times a week because I like that you guys are nice. And that's nothing we ever said in the rules. You just be nice, but just by being cool and being positive, it really, as cheesy as it sounds, it snowballs. And that's what the community has become, is this group of people who choose to be that way every day, whether we're in the group or not.
So Mike the Piper, I hope you guys send a copy to Geek and Sundry. So we just had a writer on from Geek and Sundry. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. It all starts to blur together after a while. You guys got you guys have your first mini convention coming up too that you guys are putting on as well. That is like booked. I know you guys are doing one out on the West Coast, but also there's also going to be one going on the East Coast as well.
I think so. We're not totally sure what's going on with that one, but a few of the just awesome members of our community were like, we would like to take it upon ourselves to host kind of a satellite con for people on the East Coast that aren't able to make it out to the West Coast. So I'm not sure what's going on in that arena. And AtCon is coming up so fast that we're just like, ooh, because it's like we're going to go directly from Kickstarter mode into we need to make sure all our ducks are in a row for the convention. And it's like, it's a small convention. It's going to be 40 people at my local game store. We're renting out the whole store for the day, and we're just going to be hanging out, playing games. Like, we'll probably stream some of it, but it's still like, I want to make sure that like everyone gets a chance to play in a game and everyone knows like what time things are happening and stuff. So it's a lot of logistics, especially when you've never planned anything like this before. So luckily we have some very logistical minds in Absolute Tabletop and also married to the members of Absolute Tabletop who are been very helpful in kind of navigating, event planning and things like that. So
I would like to plant the seed for the AtCon tailgate party, since you guys are probably full and no one else is getting in. But you guys, you can start filling up the parking lot, get your tents, get your barbecues out.
Yeah. There's a closed down Mexican restaurant right next to the local gaming store, and there's a parking lot right there. You guys can park out there and break out.
You mean the annex? Yeah.
Did I just hear Matt Click condone squatting in the abandoned Mexican restaurant?
No, absolutely not. But if you wanted to do it, I'm not going to run out and stop you.
We will not call the policia if you decide to go in there.
There you go. See how crazy this thing can get. You guys are going to shut down streets and streets for blocks.
Yeah, they're going to put up the big, street closed sign. It's going to turn into a big block party.
Yeah, I was going to say, we shut down the street for block.
Yeah, for the whole block. Between the game store and the donut shop, it was just nothing.
Shoulder to shoulder, like it took an extra 7 minutes to get across, and one guy was upset.
That's great. That's pretty awesome. Hey guys, you want to start the roll call and let us know where you're at? What do we got? You guys, we got I want to say Washington and Florida.
Nailed it.
All
it.
Right. Yep.
Lucky guess.
Complete opposite ends of we could not be farther apart from each other.
Yeah, quite literally.
In the continental United States. Yeah.
What are you talking about? On my screen, you guys are like this far apart.
No, and I haven't seen Tim for over a year at this point. We met in person for the first time a couple summers ago, and then we're gonna hang out again for AtCon, and I'm so excited to just give him a big hug and hang out with him in person.
I can't wait, dude.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I remember when you guys first met up, and you guys all posting the videos and pictures on Facebook and everything, and it looked really cool. It reminded me of like a high school reunion, or or hanging out with your buddies in high school kind of deal.
That was exactly what it was. Yeah. Complete with falling asleep on the floor with your pants on. Like that was just like it was just like total like high school like just crashing at your friend's house. It was so fun.
Well, that's probably better than them falling asleep on your floor without their pants on.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. That is a fair point. Yeah.
I was raised my mother would be very displeased with me, but I was just always a slob when I was a kid. So whenever we'd go swimming, all my brothers and I would put our swim trunks in the sink. And so and if you were wearing underwear when you were swimming, if you don't have the netting in there, you want to just have a little extra protection. So I threw my underwear in Matt's sink. I was like, but I folded them and I wrung them out and I laid them on there. And I don't remember who it was, but someone came out and was like, is that someone's underwear on the sink? I'm like, yeah, that's
it sure is.
That's where you put wet underwear when you see people's homes.
You're welcome.
So that was for a while. I was like, oh yeah, Tim's gonna put his underwear in the sink. I was like, yeah.
And then you moved the underwear out onto the back porch so it could dry in the sun, and then you left it there, and there was Tim underwear on my back porch for like a month after you left, and I was finally like, I'm throwing this underwear away. Like it's just gonna lay out here.
They had like turn colors in the sun, where the sun gets like one. So yeah, I'm barely human is what we basically say in AppTab. Like, yeah, Tim's barely human. That's just what to expect from him.
I just picture Matt and your wife, is her name Tila? Am I saying that right?
Yes. Yeah, Tila. Okay. Yeah.
I can just imagine you both looking out there going, I'm not touching it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
And like, eventually someone had to break and they get out like the polo suit and
exactly. And I mean, we live in the Pacific Northwest. There's like green everywhere, and we have our bird feeders in our little garden out there. And my wife's sitting there drinking her coffee, watching the birds, and there's just a pair of soggy underwear just right there, right in front of her face. She's just like shaking her head.
They're like a magic item. They stay. It's like the ever soggy underpants, and they just stay wet forever.
So Matt's wife gives everyone an invite back except for Tim.
Yeah.
Actually, Tila is so cool and easygoing. I'm sure she'd just be like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. We're all raised differently.
we all have different levels of humanity. It's okay."
Yeah. Well, my wife was literally raised in a barn. Like she literally lived in the apartment above a barn. So that's what she always says. Oh, it's fine. I was raised in a barn, like literally. So no, not a big deal.
Nice. Yeah. So we got people checking in we got First Watch in Tampa. West Michigan in the house with Mini Terrain. Rob in Seattle. Oh, he's right next to you.
Yeah.
We got Argentina in the house, Woodshon. Scott from Columbia, South Carolina. Melbourne, Australia with David. Evil Silly Putty with Minnesota. Bunch of letters and a number in there from Phoenix. We have Paul from Pittsburgh. Ghetto Stabulous, Louisiana. We got Mike the Piper in British Columbia. So we just jumped and I have no idea where I'm at anymore. There we go. We got Mr. Anubis, South Carolina. Jeffrey in Knoxville, Tennessee. We got Epic Jim, Alberta, Canada. Hey, I was just gaming with some Canadians last night. Lengthy in Madison. We have some more Canada in the house with Mapnomicon. We got Eric from Fort Worth. We got Corey from Rochester. We got Boston in the house. We got staff writer Scott in Philly. We got South Georgia. We got Sue Rainey from Atlanta. Fort Worth, some more Fort Worth, Texas, unless someone posted again. We got the armpit of California with S. Daniel. Well, it wouldn't be the same without the armpit of California. So I know probably since I started now that I've started naming them, they'll start chiming in with more places. But first of all, I want to thank everyone for hanging out. We're hanging in at around 62 people. So do you guys have any other projects on the horizon after since this one's pretty much in the bag, right? And you guys have said you're looking at October for actually getting stuff out to people, and you even though you've blown past your initial goal and you got 50 more stretch goals that have been added, you guys are pretty much still on track, which is really cool. I caught the replay of I think most of Matt's live stream from Kickstarter, which I didn't even know you could do.
Yeah, we didn't either. It was kind of a cool thing. It's there's a bunch of stuff on Kickstarter. Again, we're still learning, so we're sort of still discovering features and stuff that you can use. So, but learning stuff for the next time, definitely. But in terms of like stuff that we're working on, like Harbinger is big for me, and like Tim can actually talk about Dead Man's Guide to Dragonbrand, which will probably be I imagine, maybe our next Kickstarter project. So
and Harbinger is a slow burn because it is built on the bones of 5e. You know, Matt can speak more to this, but it is using a lot of new concepts, and I'll let him kind of talk about that in a minute. But so we're doing a lot of iterative play testing to make sure that it is extremely polished as far as the mechanics go. So you're going to see a lot of Harbinger play tests, probably through, I would say, till next year. But we'll kind of play it by ear. When it's done, and we want it to be great.
You know, I want to back up real quick, though.
Sure.
Why should people back your Kickstarter right now instead of waiting until it's done?
I think because if you are someone who is interested in getting all of our supplements for super, super inexpensive, you should get the pledge level right now of it's the Frozen King Reborn. You get all 17 of our PDFs, and we're going to be delivering those very soon. As far as waiting till the end or doing it now, why wait? When you know something's cool, when you want it, why even risk forgetting about it? Why not do it now when you're sitting in front of your computer? You have it. It's close to a payday. If you wait, you might forget and miss out. And you'll miss out on the cool production diary that we're putting in the digital and print copies of these books. If you get the book after the Kickstarter is over from our site or the PDF, it's not going to have the behind-the-scenes production diary. So you don't want to risk missing that. So I don't know if that's a good answer. Matt, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's great. And I was going to mention the production diary for sure, which is just kind of a cool, it'll include like concept art and rough sketches of things and notes from all of us talking about the project and probably, you know, the Kickstarter project and stuff like that. So it'll be some kind of cool behind the scenes stuff. And like Tim said, like it's absolutely the cheapest way to get our all of our PDFs. It's like an insane value. It's like 17 PDFs plus a softcover version, plus everything that comes with the Kickstarter. It's like $50. So it's pretty good deal.
So, so you're going to get exclusives. You're going to get, a great deal on all the other AbTab products if you don't have them already. And then also, right, doesn't your name get put in there or something, or is that level gone or whatever?
No, that's absolutely a thing.
I don't know, because we pledged like the first day or two or whenever it came out. I don't remember, but so if you guys want your name in there, so people know that you're real AbTab fans, not fake fans, and right from the beginning, before they were famous, you got to pledge right now before this Kickstarter ends. Get in there, get your name in there, and support these guys. They're doing cool stuff, and they're great guys, so you should support them.
Yeah, and there was something that James, our brother, he's at work, so he can't be a part of the stream, but he's part of AbTab. He shot me a message on my phone and he goes, "Hey, I saw a cool comment in the chat. Someone asks, I see base elements of an adventure as NPCs, locations, events, and items. Once those are set, I can go. Do you have different elements than those?" Matt, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think that we have all of those elements. Those are kind of the big things of an adventure, like you said. But we also have what we call the toolbox, the Game Master Toolbox, at the very back of the book, which it's probably the biggest section. And what it is it's roll table after roll table after roll table for generating endless traps, puzzles, monsters. Like we have a simplified monster stats that are 5th edition compatible that Tim and I came up with that we're like super, super pleased with. It's basically you choose how difficult you want the monster to be, and then you adjust their damage based on the level of your player characters. And then you can add buffs to the monster. You can give them flight. You can give them a spell. You can give them multi-attack. And you can basically just really quick modular build your own monsters. There's stuff back there like trinkets, random loot, thematic phrases to just kind of like get the juices flowing. So that to me is like, whenever anyone asks like, what's your favorite section of the book? The toolbox is always what I pick, because I'm like, that's what I would use all the time. Even if I wasn't running Oath of the Frozen King, that toolbox would be sitting right there, and I would pull it out and roll some trinkets for them to find some loot, a random monster, you know, whatever I need. So I love the toolbox.
Yeah, and I agree, man. That's my favorite part of the book. And one of the things that I'll bring up before anyone else does, which is, if the toolbox is one of the biggest parts of the book and it's going to be in every adventure kit, then why do I need every adventure kit? Why don't you just do it separately? We have gone through and added what we think the sweet spot is to give you just enough inspiration. So we have customized portions of this toolbox, like the encounter generator. It's all cold and ice, so that when you roll something, you don't have to reskin it in your mind. The monster generator, there's a short table just describing the different kinds of monsters and what they might look like frozen. One sentence. But on the fly, this toolbox is very thematic, so you're safe. And you're going to generate things that are intuitive and make sense for this location. And we're going to do that for every adventure kit.
Awesome. And you're getting that information, basically distilled to you right from professionals, pretty much. Matt has been working on RPG products before AbTab, so this isn't new to him. And the rest of the guys, you're also very highly educated and very, very skilled at what they do. Extremely impressive. I want to start jumping to some of the questions. So first off, from Patreon, we got Tom Harris. I really like the kit. It looks great. It's mentioned in the toolbox section under what's included that there will be mechanics introduced into the setting. Can you elaborate? I think you just did. Basically, I didn't even look at I had looked at the question before, put it in the chat so that I could find it, and then Tim went off. And Matt went off, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. As I'm reading it, that's what they just essentially answered. See, they're also psychic. See, that's another reason why you want to support them. They're gonna fulfill your needs before you even knew that you had them.
That's probably our biggest boon as a company, is the fact that we're all psionics. But yeah, that's the mechanics that we're introducing are the things like the simple monster stats, which are, they are compatible with 5th edition. But the thing is that it's not a full stat block where you're seeing all of their abilities, all of their saves, all of their, skills or whatever. It's like very, very simple. Just like, here's what they roll on their dice whenever they attack, whenever they make a check. Here's some buffs that they have, and here's their hit points and their AC, and it's just like super simple. And in addition to that, we also have all of the monsters that are mentioned in the encounters or the locations or whatever. We have those statted out, pre-statted out in these little mini stat blocks that we've created. So not only can you roll a monster randomly or create one on the fly, you have all of the monsters ready to go with these very simple, like 1-2 line stat blocks. So
exactly,
we're pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, and the way that 5th edition uses bounded accuracy is the only reason why this streamlined approach is possible. And so using bounded accuracy and using one of the biggest boons of the system itself, we have made it so, and it's very easily laid out. We have it like internally labeled when you're reading the book. Do you need a minion? Do you need a skirmisher, a vanguard, or a nemesis? And we kind of have it labeled where a nemesis would be a very powerful foe with high armor class and high hit points. But because of bounded accuracy, those things don't change based on level. What changes based on level is typically their damage output. So we've got it dialed in so that if you're like, okay, I know my heroes, they're level 4s. I need something kind of like a minor threat. It's right there. You could even on the fly, just not even have stats for the monster and just know, okay, this thing that I'm making up on the fly should do about 4 to 7 hit points per round for this, party of adventures at this level. And having that so accessible and compartmentalized is what I love about the toolbox.
So digging into the chat here, Dale, have you guys thought about creating fantasy round versions for 5e? And I'm just going to an addendum to that. What about Roll20 as well? Have you guys looked into that stuff at all?
We have, and this is something for us, is that we wanted to just do the Kickstarter. So kind of answering a peripheral question, dice, dungeon master screens, decks of cards that have the encounters and the locations. These are all things that we looked at and will most likely do, and potentially the fantasy grounds in the Roll20 because the art assets will be complete with the maps and everything. But we're going to keep it separate from the Kickstarter because we want to do a lean mean Kickstarter that gets people the product as soon as possible without any add-ons. And then anything we want to do after that, because we have the infrastructure of a company, we can just produce as normal products. And if they're interested, they can get those things. So that is something we are definitely looking into. Hopefully you'll see something, this year on that.
Cool. Awesome. Mike the Piper, could you guys describe how the kit can be brought over to different systems? And someone else that kind of chimed in too, wanted to know about that.
Yeah, definitely. I actually ran it just last night using the Black Hack, which is D20 based, but it's completely different. It's a roll under system. The stats, the way hit points work are totally different. And I didn't really do any heavy prep to kind of convert it. All I did was I used the basic stats of the monsters like we have. And what I did is I looked at what they were in terms of hit dice and used that as a way to calculate the challenge of the encounters in the Black Hack. And so that was really, really easy to do. And I know Lloyd from Jarl DM has run the adventure kit using Shadowrun. I think he ran it using what other systems did he run it with? I think he ran it with like 2 or 3 different systems.
It might have been Fate.
Yeah, I can't remember. But the basic idea is that we've intentionally kept the mechanics very, very basic and loose. So, for instance, if you're looking at an encounter, and the encounter, like we have an encounter with a mad troll, okay, and the mad troll has carved these runes on the wall, and every few rounds the runes go off, and anyone in the room has to make a save in order to avoid some cold damage. All it says is everyone in the room has to make a Constitution saving throw to avoid cold damage. It doesn't say the DC of the Constitution save. It doesn't say how much cold damage, because all that is dictated by the level of the players. And so if you're running a different system, if you're running the Black Hack, if you're running Pathfinder, if you're running whatever, you can take that and say, oh, okay, a Constitution saving throw. What would that be in my system? Well, it's a Fortitude saving throw, or it's a Strength test, or whatever. And you do that, and then you decide how much damage it's going to be based on the level of your players. And we have guidelines for that in the toolbox for like, here's how much damage a trap would do at this level if you wanted a setback or a major setback or a deadly trap or whatever. So the way that we've worded everything, yes, it's sort of leaning towards 5th edition, but we've tried to keep it as agnostic as possible so that you can run it with your system of choice and in your setting of choice.
And Dave, dude, between you and me, right? You said you're kind of a light prep guy. I don't know if you're the same. To me, the bookkeeping research stuff, that's not the stuff I need help with. I'm like, I need a thing. What's a cool thing I need? Oh, the quest giver is actually a foe that they had. And that's a table right at the beginning of the adventure kit so that you don't run it the same way with the same products every time. That's the stuff I need help with. Or a mad troll, runes on the wall. Like, I'm like, oh, cool. Then I'm there. That's all I need. I can do the bookkeeping easily. Like, okay, let's see on any system, what's my damage? That's just transferring one number to a note card. The hard part for me is the story and weaving it together. And that's the stuff I toil over. This handles all that really well.
Nice. And it sounds like there's a ton of reusability to this adventure kit. So how do you guys feel about the fact that maybe you might be like rewriting how adventures are basically put together?
I hadn't really thought of it that way, but that's a cool concept. And I do think that, we've been writing RPG products for a couple of years now, but I don't think we've done anything like different than anyone else has ever done it. Like our adventure modules, they're adventure modules. They're cool. They're styled. They're in our sort of style, but they're still adventure modules. Our campaign setting books, kind of similar to what you would have found in 3rd edition when they had this little, the small kind of campaign setting books. This is the first product of ours where I'm like, you don't see this on shelves anywhere. There are elements of an adventure kit. You see, roll tables and modular things, and, you might come across an adventure module where you can kind of generate rooms as you go or whatever. But this is, I think, sort of the first of its kind that I know of. And so that's kind of a cool feeling, because as soon as we started writing it and developing it, it was like, I've been waiting for this for years and I didn't know it. Like, this is the kind of adventure module that I would run, because there's nothing restrictive about it. It is completely open-ended. It gives you the skeletal framework and you just plug in the things you want. And that's like one of our sayings is, we make what we use. this is how we prep, this is how we run games, and it's cool to be able to make a product that like just completely exemplifies that.
Exactly. And so, you know, one of the other things that, because that's a heavy statement, man. I had never considered it like that. And hearing it from an outside source, it's like, wow, maybe we are doing something totally new here. Here's the thing. I took a turning point in my DMing when I stopped trying to tell the story myself and have the players go through it, and really embraced collaborative storytelling. Part of that was playing under guys like Matt and Barker. No module is really collaborative storytelling. Most modules, and I have no issue with them, but they serve a different purpose. They're a story that one dungeon master has told in their mind and have written down for you to tell. There is not a lot of collaboration there. It's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there might be a few open-ended paths, but here is the story. I think one of the biggest differences with the Adventure Kit is it's designed and saying, let's tell a collaborative story together. Here are the puzzle pieces. Here's the model kit. Let's put it together as a group. And I think that's the biggest change the Adventure Kit is doing. It's taking storytelling out of adventure writing, and it's making it collaborative in its approach.
So one, there's a couple questions, and one that keeps coming up is, you know, is this going to be a physical book? Yes, it is. So you guys know, if you back the Kickstarter, you get the book, which is one of the things I was looking forward to as well. Another thing too, like before you guys had even mentioned this, we had kind of like been polling different Facebook groups, our own communities and stuff about, hey, you know, what do you think companies are doing right when it comes to putting out product? What do you think they're doing wrong? And I have to say, you know, AbTab kept coming up as like, that's a company to model as far as stuff you guys are putting out. So you guys have been on the radar for a while now, for us to look at, because we've dabbled with stuff in the past. We do our own like rinky-dink things, you know, with our patrons every month. But we've also been looking to publish as well. We've spent like the last 3 years like publicly creating all, you know, all these different campaign things. We're like, we should probably compile it at some point and put it somewhere, as people keep asking. And like at this point, there's more people running our stuff in their campaigns than we are, so which is kind of funny. Someone asked, there's a specific question I saw that I wanted to ask you guys in the chat. Sorry guys. Okay.
No,
really,
yeah, you're good.
Here it is. Christopher, really thinking about running Oath of the Frozen King after Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Oh wait a minute, no. What is that? I don't even know what that is that he's talking about running.
I think it's Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Any advice for a small adventure party prep in the module?
Oh, so for like a small party, like one or two player characters and then the GM. I would say that, you know, if you have a small party like that, you know, dialing back the encounters just a little bit than you normally would. You know, with any adventure module, if you have a small party, you don't want to hit them with the same sort of difficulty of encounter, because you have less damage being put out per round from the player characters, but the same amount of damage being put on them from an amount of enemies or a trap or whatever. And so in order to balance that out, you just kind of have to like scale it back a bit. And part of that is like, you know, as a DM, you always have your foot on the accelerator and you're kind of letting it off, putting it down, letting it off, putting it down. And so it's just like, as you're getting through the encounter, if you're like dropping them and like just hitting them with so much damage and they're not able to get in hits, they're not able to get off their healing spells, whatever, then it's time to scale it back a little bit, drop the AC, drop the hit points, drop the damage that's being done. And that's just sort of like, that's sort of something that comes intuitively as you run the game. So in your prep, when you're prepping for a small party, just scale it back just a little bit. Instead of hitting them with 5 minions, throw 3 at them. Instead of hitting them with 2 skirmishers, have them face 1. And then depending on how they do with that, you can kind of scale it up as they go.
Yeah, and with the pre-generated monsters we were talking about, they're super, super simple. If Oath of the Frozen King is just a little too high, so talking about lower level characters or even like a couple, if that feels a little too epic in scope, you can also scale it back so that perhaps this isn't the Frozen King, bump it down a couple of stat blocks and have one of the lesser monsters be perhaps like, you know, a knight of the Frozen Lord or something, so that you can just scale back the grandeur of the kit as well, because all of it is reskinnable as far as the story. If you take a piece out, it doesn't ruin the plot like an adventure might. So that's another thing.
Yeah, to that, speaking that too, I run every Wednesday night, I run a game for like 2 or 3 players. And, and I find I just use weaker monsters and maybe more of them, and let them, feel epic, with trouncing, those lower level monsters. And then you just kind of get a feel for it. And it's like Matt said, it's like DMing is as much art as it is science, and you just get a feel for your players. And that being said, like a wizard that can drop a fireball is going to play out way different than, if you have a bard or a rogue who maybe they can do a lot of damage, but it's only going to be to a single target. So those are the things you're going to have to take into consideration.
Yeah, for sure. And I love small groups. Like I run one-on-one games for me and my wife all the time, and that's a lot of fun. The last like 3 games I've run on my channel have been 3 players instead of my typical 4. And I'm really digging the dynamic that happens with 3 players, because it's better than just having 2, but like, I don't know, there's just something about the 3. It feels like the spotlight is easier to share around and stuff. So I've really been digging that, especially for one-shots, not necessarily for campaigns, but a one-shot game, having the 3 players there. And it's like you say, Dave, like, it's just about feeling it out. And it's not about sitting there keeping track of hit points, constantly asking the players, how many hit points do you have? How many hit points do you have? It's like, just pay attention to how hard the monsters are hitting you. And if your player goes, oh, I'm almost down or whatever, it's like, don't shy away from dropping your players, let them figure it out. But at the same time, you don't want to just hit them with a bunch of encounters that they can't even, use in action, because it's like, all right, you're stunned, you're asleep, you're down, like, and now the monsters are going to start kicking you in the crotch while you're on the ground, whatever. Like, just feel out that balance between the challenge and making the players feel like they're cool and like they're doing cool stuff.
So there's a question from Dale. Are you guys thinking about more stretch goals for the Kickstarter? Also, I want to add to that real quick. Like, DMs seem to have this fear that, like, if the encounters are too easy, that their players aren't going to come back or something. Like, I've never heard a player go, "Man, I'm so disappointed. We totally kicked those monsters' asses. You're such a lame DM." I haven't heard that yet.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's the thing, is like, an encounter is not necessarily meant to kill the players. Like, it's not a life or death situation all the time. Sometimes it's just a cool cinematic combat that's meant to tax their resources. The wizard's going to use spell slots. The fighter's going to use their action surge. The ranger's going to waste some arrows. It's like, it's okay to just tax their resources a little bit and give them something fun to do without necessarily just wiping the floor with them. Like, leave that for the like big climactic encounter,
And that big climactic encounter is going to be much more tense when they go into it. If you don't let them rest and they go into it, no action surge or second wind, 3 slots down on spells, almost mid hit points. You're going to find that they're going to play it out a lot differently. Like, uh-oh. So I love that.
Exactly. I when I was running Oath last night, we went into the final battle with the Frozen King. Our conjurer had his 1 spell slot left. That was it. Our thief was running low on arrows. Every time he shot the arrows, he had to roll this usage die to see if he was running low, and he was down to like a D4 usage die on his arrows. And our cleric was like going through his armor points that he had from his shield and his armor. And so going into that fight, they were so careful and tentative and really thought about strategy and what are we going to do. And I just love that. And it was because they had a few easier encounters before where they were taxed. You tax the players' resources, use up their arrows, use up their spell slots, don't necessarily just outright try to kill them. So then when they reach that end encounter, they have to be smart about it.
So what about them stretch goals?
So one of the things that we were very careful about going into this is that, especially after the first week, we thought, okay, this is going to do better than we expected. And so we decided internally, we want to make sure that no matter how big it gets, we still make sure it doesn't get bloated, that we don't add things that aren't necessary, like get your Frozen King shot glasses and t-shirts. Like, for us, we wanted to make sure that if anything went into the book it just made the book excellent. So things we couldn't normally do on our regular budget. So we have capped it at 20,000. There will not be any other stretch goals as of now, simply because we emphasize how we're not going to let the book become bloated. We don't want anything that would also slow down its flexibility at the table, being able to flip through it. So I think we're going to cap it at that and just deliver an excellent product to anyone else who pledges. Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's perfect, and that's sort of my philosophy too. Is like, I've backed Kickstarters before that have had all of these stretch goals and add-ons and stuff, and it's like it takes years to get the products because all of a sudden this company is like, okay, we did $50,000 at this Kickstarter. We have all these stretch goals. Like, we got to start making all this stuff. We got to start making these bottle openers and shot glasses and whatever. And I'm still getting crap from Kickstarters that I funded like years ago. And it's like, I don't care. I don't need the Castles and Crusades coaster. I have all the books. I'm good. You guys don't need to send me all this stuff. And so for us, it really was like, how can we get the product as good as possible and get it to people as quickly as possible without, eschewing our normal sort of process of making sure that the book is as perfect as it can be. So yeah, capping it at 20K, and who knows, we may have a conversation later on down the line. We're only halfway through this project, but as of now, I feel like the stretch goals that we have achieved have strengthened the book, but it's starting to get to the point where if we start adding more stuff, it's going to make it less usable at the table. Just like Tim was saying, we want you to be able to flip through, find what you need to use and roll it. And I feel like adding more locations, more encounters, more monsters, like that stuff is cool. But at a certain point, there's that law of diminishing returns where it's like, okay, well now I can't find what I'm looking for because there's 50 pages of encounters and I'm not even going to use all these. So yeah.
So Matt 510 Frozen King shot glass. Why is this not an option? So Matt Lennington, well, I'll get to him in a second. Mini Terrain Frozen King Whiskey Stones. Can I get an order of dinosaur lasagna with my pledge? All very important question, guys. And then we also have, what were you expecting from this Kickstarter? I think you guys kind of touched on that early on. And that was essentially like, we're going to get to make the thing and put some cool art in there more so than we were able to before. And now, now you guys could make like the Frozen King art book if you wanted to.
I think we could actually make a Frozen King. Like we could get a corpse and get a necromancer to raise it up and actually have a usable Frozen King that could follow us around with that money. So I think that's probably what we're gonna do with it, right, Tim?
I think so. I'm looking on Craigslist for necromancers later tonight.
Sweet, awesome.
If it was Nerdarchy above that 20K stretch goal, it would be something like, Nerdarchy may kill themselves on an epic hooker and blow binge for this pledge level.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, and to touch on the idea of shot glasses and t-shirts and stuff, we have the benefit of having our own online storefront. Not very many indie publishers that come to Kickstarter have the ability to sell products on their own storefront. If we wanted to do a Frozen King t-shirt or a Adventure Kit DM screen, we can offer those as purchases on our actual online storefront for the people that want them without having to add them as add-ons or pledge goal or, pledge levels or whatever in the actual Kickstarter. So if people are interested in going and getting a t-shirt, maybe at some point we'll have some Frozen King t-shirts on the website.
Someone's like, don't forget 15K means they go to Disney World. I think they passed that a little while ago. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go back around for it now.
Yeah. I think I made a joke about that yesterday, actually, that we were just going to, any profit that we made after all of the costs of printing and shipping this book, we're just like, let's all just go to Disneyland. Let's not, let's just meet in Disneyland and spend a couple days there.
I think you guys should add the $5,000 level, and AbTab will come to your town and run a game for you and play with you, drink your beer and eat your pizza.
We'll come crash on your couch. It'll be great.
It'll be great.
$5,000 pledge level. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tim will leave his underwear. Tim will leave his soaking wet underwear in your sink.
It's a guarantee, and they will not be new underwear. Well-lived. There's some mileage on these bad boys. They have seen days.
We're right on the cusp of I should probably throw these away, but
that sweet spot before that. Yeah.
Matt 510 said you guys hit 21K. So that's
Oh.
awesome.
That's news to us. That's sweet.
Well, you know, you
Thanks,
guys,
Matt.
you guys are here busy hanging out.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's man, it's just crazy. Every time we hit another 1,000, it's like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
What?
you guys are at like 21,165. I don't know where you guys were when you started. I had looked, but I don't remember what the number was.
I don't
Yeah.
either. I should probably be better at that, but
It
The
was
other-
20,000 something.
You know, the money, the like seeing the you know, the funding is great, but I also love looking at the backer numbers and seeing how many people are interested in the product, because I think that's really cool.
It's definitely awesome. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm excited to see. I'm excited to get the finished product, and like PDFs are great, but literally they sit on my desk. They sit on my desktop or in my hard drive somewhere,
Yeah.
and I hardly ever go back to them. Like, but something that's physical that I can put in my hands and flip through and take into the bathroom with me. Now that's a thing.
Exactly. No, we love physical books, and we're all sort of like that sort of tactile mind where you want the actual dice, the actual book, you know, you writing out your prep notes or whatever. So when we figured out print on demand last year, which was I still have nightmares about figuring out print on demand, but now that we have it just like completely figured out, like it's great that we're able to offer this like right out of the gate. Like if you want a physical product, like we'll be able to do it. So that's really cool.
So Lavoyer has some kind of like nuts and bolts type of question here. So where did you guys start research on finding a publisher or networking with companies to get your products to a finished and polished design?
Well, I think that's an interesting question, because like we did it ourselves, and that's not something I would recommend to anyone else. People always ask us like, oh, how did you guys like get started in publishing and like writing and making your own PDFs? And I'm like, oh, it was horrible, but it was also amazing. And like, I think we're very fortunate to have the four of us all have very different skill sets where we can do our own design, we can do our own layout. We're all writers. You know, I come from an editing background, and so we're able to kind of just do it all ourselves. And we're also extremely blessed to have our own James Carney, who's able to figure out how to make an online storefront and make it work just without issue, which is amazing. So for me, like, I think if you're an independent publisher, if you're wanting to get into writing and designing and your own supplements, look for like-minded individuals. Look at avenues like Drive-Thru RPG. Look at the DMs Guild. The DMs Guild is great because they give you assets that you can use to actually lay out your book and art that you can put in there and stuff. So for like an indie publisher, if you're looking to get into it, then I would go with that. But in terms of how we did it, would not recommend, but it worked for us.
And if you go back and look at our PDFs, look at Tieflings of Dragongrin is the first PDF we put out, like as we were sort of forming in the Genesis, and it's our first book, and it is what it is, and we're proud of it because it's a milestone. But if you look at like one of our recent releases, like Stone Rift, which looks like an actual product, all of those books in between, we changed our processes and improved and learned something by making a terrible mistake that cost us 4 hours or a night's sleep, you know? And so that's one of the other cool things about adventure kits. 4 guys can put them out fairly quickly. And so we all have campaign settings, but we don't have the time to produce full campaign guides for every world currently. But we can put out a Kror adventure kit, an Ankea adventure kit, even use other properties and, you know, like steampunk or Lovecraft. We can do that with 4 guys. And so it's cool.
So people are asking about physical products for your other books. You guys have them already, correct? That people can buy?
We do. Yeah, we do for a good handful of them. A few of them are our legacy books are not optimized for print on demand, and so it's one of those things where when we have time, we go back and get another book ready for print on demand. Like we're going to have like Copper Jackals up for print on demand here very, very soon. So right now, I think there's Stone Rift, there's the Convocation, there's Be a Better Campaign Master, there's
and then soon Copper Jackals.
Yeah, soon Copper Jackals. So there's a good handful of books that you can get physical copies of on absolutetabletop.com. Yeah.
Well, after the success of this Kickstarter, that sounds like a good project to outsource to the Philippines.
Oh man, that's a good idea. That's a really, really good idea. There's actually, this is a funny story. We haven't told this before, but this is absolutely my fault. We have one of our books. It's an adventure module called Horror at Misty Meadows, and last year we were going back through all of our old supplements and figuring out what's it going to take to get these guys ready for print on demand. Which books do we want print on demand? Which do we not? And I cannot find Horror at Misty Meadows. We do not have the original copy of Horror at Misty Meadows anymore. We have PDFs. I cannot for the life of me find the InDesign file. I have no idea where it is. I've looked on all of my computers, all of my hard drives. I like George Lucas'd that so hard. I have no idea where it is, and I'm not joking. So at some point when Horror at Misty Meadows comes out on print on demand, it's going to be a whole new book because I'm going to have to redesign it, baby.
You're going to be like, this is going to be amazing, guys. There is so much new content in this book that you have not seen before. No one on the planet has seen it. It's not going to run anything like the first adventure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to it's just going to, well, and based on all the layout that I've learned since then, it'll probably look very different, but it's one of those things where I'm like, where could it have possibly gone? Why? I wouldn't have deleted it, but I guess I did at some point. I don't even know, man. It's just, it's stupid.
That's funny. Just slap special edition on the cover and you'll be good. So with that, I think we've blown past our hour mark. I know we got started a little bit late, so we ran over a little bit. But I want to thank you guys for coming on. Congratulations on the Kickstarter. I know it broke your balls a little bit, but yeah, I'm so proud of you guys. What you're doing is amazing, and you are a good group of dudes. So with that, until next time, stay nerdy and go into the description, click the link, and go pick up your own Oath of the Frozen King.